Ooh, that looks tasty. Welcome folks, Jay the Hungry Gamer is back with another game review, and today we're talking about Elemental Stones, designed by Jason Bullman and Joe Pacini, and published by Paizo. And I do apologize if I mispronounced any of those names. First of all, thank you to Paizo for sending me this game so I can make this video. Additionally, please make sure you turn on your Klingon subtitles, because if I make any mistakes in the rules overview, that is where you'll find the corrections. Now, what this game is this is a 2 to 4 player abstract game, and you are trying to control the elements here to become the ruler of the maelstrom here of all the different elements. And you're going to do that by placing tiles out onto the board or swapping tiles on the board to fulfill the patterns that will be in your hand. And based on the number of players you have, you'll play until a certain number of patterns have been fulfilled, then you will do your scoring. Now, if you are not interested in how this game is played, I'm going to jump into my final thoughts. So I'm going to go to the timestamp on the screen right now. So what I have here is set up a 2-player game. And on each turn, what's going to happen is each player will get to draft one set of 2 tiles, and they'll start with some tiles in their hand. And then on their turn, they'll get to take 2 different actions. Now, as we take a look here, you can see that the actions that you have are, you can draw a new pattern, and you can either take from the top of the deck or the ones that are out there. You can discard a pattern, because they are worth negative points at the end of the game if you don't complete them. You can place stones, you can transmute stones, or you can score a pattern. And so let's go through those. So as I said, you can draw a pattern, just kind of take one off the board from here, no problem, it goes into your hand. And then at the end of the round is when it will refill. And as I said, each player will, at the start of the turn, take 2 of the tiles there. And every turn, the first player will be a different player, so you'll always have the first crack at things at some point during the game. You can discard a pattern, which, as I said, I'm not going to be able to do this, get rid of it. You can place stones, which means you take stones that are in your hand, so we'll just put my stones right here, and you can place them out onto the board. So maybe I decide to go right here, and I decide to go right here. That's 2 different actions, and you get 3 actions on your turn. So for my third action, I'm going to score this pattern right here, which means I simply take this and I put it into my scored pile. Now what you'll notice is we have these elements here, and then we have these air elements. Now the way air elements work is you are able to use those to represent any color stone. So let's just say that this was the situation like so. Now I could still do this pattern because the air is wild, but what I would have to do is, since I'm making it green, I would take this green one here and put it there, and so you can only do it if the stone is around the edge. The other thing that you're able to do is you're able to do a transmute, and what that means is you are able to turn a stone in your hand or on the board into a different type, assuming again it is available. So I could say, you know what, I'm trying to chase a pattern and I need this to be that, like so. Or I could say, oh, I want to place a stone later, so I'm going to put this one back and turn that into fire, etc., etc. And that's how the game works. Now you're also going to have, as you're playing through, various objectives that you are chasing. So for example, this one right here, stones of my element, surrounded by stones of any other element, however many you have, you're going to get extra points for that. How do you know what your element is? Well, that's going to depend on what sovereign you have. And the sovereign is going to give you extra points based on how many scoring cards you do of a particular element. So in this case, I am blue, and so I'm trying to do blue cards like this. That's going to get me points. And for my secret objective, stones that are blue are going to be the ones that earn me points. And that's how this game works. When you get to the end, once the set number of patterns has been hit, you're going to go through, you're going to score your pattern cards, you're going to score your sovereign card, you're going to score your objective card, and you're going to get 1 point for having the most stones left in your hand of each element. And then you'll lose points for every pattern card that you did not complete, as shown right here. And that's how this game works. So what do I like about this game? There is always a soft spot in my heart for simple games that you can get into very quickly and at the same time make your brain work. And this game does that. It reminds me a little bit of like Hive or something like that. And there's always a spot for those kind of games on someone's shelf. Now, as opposed to Hive, I like this one goes up to 4 players. At 4 players, you're adding a real kind of interesting element of you're not able to fully plan what's going to happen. When you play at 2 players, which is how I did my playtesting, you're going to be able to see, okay, they're doing this, okay, I think I see what they're going for. But when you add in a 3rd or 4th player, what you're going to start to see is you're going to start to see people working towards their patterns, but also at the same time messing around with other people's patterns. And because there will be players in between you, it really makes your strategy matter. You're going to have to maybe misdirect and do things like that. And I think that is particularly interesting with this game. I also like that each player has this sovereign, which is going to drive them towards chasing a certain type of card, which again is going to be an interesting bit of strategy. As you see, if you see me in my example, I was blue with the water, going after these water cards, well, you're probably going to want to try to stop me from doing that, but of course that's going to possibly hurt you as well. And I think that is, again, particularly interesting the way it works. I also think it adds for a lovely bit of additional replay, because with the limited number of objective cards, there's not none, but there's not a ton of them. The limited number of ones you have, just by changing your sovereign is going to change the way that works, so that actually adds some interesting replay. The other thing that I actually like, and I think is particularly fun to me, is the way the transmutation works. I have the option of transmuting on the board or in my hand, and I really like the way those air tiles work. Those are cool. Those are cool simply because you play them and it's going to kind of change what they are permanently. And I didn't say this in the video, but as you solve certain patterns, that's going to allow you to take new air tokens into your hand. And it's very clever the way it works, and I like how there's a limited amount of transmuting you can do. You are limited by what is out there on the board. That works really, really well. So what are my quibbles with the game? Well, unfortunately, the production on the first print, I think I had the first print, is not the best. The board I have is very, very warped. I will say it looks way more warped than it is on the table. It is playable, but it is a little bit, well, no, it's warped. And the cards themselves are sticky, for want of a better word. They're sticky, they don't slide very well, and you might have to sleeve them, and that's kind of annoying. Unless you're a sleever, in which case, no big deal. And the other thing I'll say is I'm a little bit disappointed that there's not more art on these things, especially as you look at the patterns and the objective cards. Pathfinder, which is the IP for this, has such amazing art. So much amazing art. And it's just a little bit dull here as far as the look. So all of that to me is a little bit of a bummer. And then the other thing I'll say is this is a very abstract game. And it has a little bit of theme to it, but again, when you think of Paizo and Pathfinder, you think of amazing story, because again, they have very good story. I even read their most recent Pathfinder book, and it is a good story. So they have all this good story. You're not getting story here. This is a straight up abstract tile laying game that plays very quickly, and that's what it is. So there you have it, folks. That is Elemental Stones. It's a fun game. It plays quick. It has an interesting brain burn, and it was particularly challenging for me because spatially, I'm just not good spatially at seeing things. Like, oh, wait, is this the way the pattern works? I'm not good at that. So it really was a good challenge for me to try to figure out how to do these things. I think it's a clever game. I think if you are kind of looking for a fast, easy to play, good brain burn type of game, abstract, then this is one to look at. Again, I mentioned Hive. It's even simpler than Hive because Hive, each of the insects do different things. But it's kind of in that vein, something you can just play very quickly, get out there, do some kind of cool stuff, and go for it. But there you have it, folks. That is Elemental Stones. As always, if I made any mistakes in the rules overview, please let me know in the comments with the timestamp so I can get that in the Klingon subtitles. If you found this video useful, please like, subscribe, share, maybe become a channel member. As always, thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.